What's going on, guys? You know what night it is. It is Tuesday night, cards and cake. But here in Tampa, I could not find a great bakery, and my stomach hurt like hell after I had that grocery store cake. So I got waffles. It's not the same, but I'll tell you what, waffles are kind of like a pancake, and a pancake is basically cake for breakfast. So that's what I got tonight. But tonight, I also have a very special guest. You know him as the personal finance dad. I know him as Dustin because we're like that. And we're going to be talking about the state of the market because it's crazy. We got record high sales with a Giannis rookie card. We got a lot of people getting in and losing money for the first time. And we're seeing a lot of prices go down. Sports are crazy. Injuries left and right. Let's try and make sense of all of that. So what's up, global sports card investor, all the way from Australia, I believe. Brian Kingsley, you're always here. David Hunter. Sorry to disappoint on the cake. I hope waffles works for you guys. Hockey 99, what's going on? Mike C, Brandon Babcock, thank you so much for that awesome comment you had. I saw yesterday. It was super cool. But without further ado, let me bring in the personal finance dad. Dustin, how you doing, my man?
Hey, how's it going?
Good. You know, the first time we went on, you signed on to the live stream about 2 minutes before, and that was our first face-to-face interaction, so it was really scary. And I want to commend you for being on 5 minutes before. So that was a lot more time to really catch up on life. So I appreciate it.
I wanted to build up the suspense the first time. But yeah, no, that's early for me. 5 minutes out, that may as well be like 30 minutes out for most people.
Dude, what coach is it? Is it like Bill Belichick or no? There's one of those coaches that the guy from the Giants. What was that old coach from the Giants that if you're not 5 minutes early, you're late?
Oh,
that really like grouchy guy.
Yeah, I can see his face and I can't think of his name. He's with the Jaguars now.
Tom. Oh God, he just struck me as like the meanest old guy. You know what I mean? Like that traditional old coach that just irritable. He struck me as that dude. But anyway, guys, yeah, there you go. Coughlin right there. Bill Parcells was similar in his like old guy, don't want to really hang out with him type of vibe. But yeah, there's a lot to talk about because the sports card market's been a bit crazy, man. So like I mentioned at the intro, we saw a record high price for a Giannis rookie card that went in an auction, I believe, yesterday. And at the same time, we're seeing a lot of people, I don't know if they're liquidating at a loss or just prices are going down, if people are like over the novelty of it. So what's your first take of what you're seeing? Like, what are you seeing right now that may have been a bit different than a month ago? And how are you interpreting it?
Well, I definitely think there's many factors going on. One of them that we kind of touched on before we came on is that I do think that there are a lot of flippers that came in just for that quick buck, flip life, type folks, that came in without necessarily really, doing research or watching sports or doing any of those things, and more or less just trying to figure out, where to spend some of their stimulus money. And it ended up being sports cards. And I think now it's the first time, like you had mentioned, where some people are getting burned. First time in 6 months, maybe 9 months, first time this year, maybe for a lot of people. So I think that plays a big part. I do think that there's going to be money that leaves the market. I think those type of people will leave because, let's face it, I don't think that everybody that's been buying cards is a hobbyist or a collector or someone that was ever planning on staying in long term. I think it was more of just kind of a quick get rich quick type deal. And there are people out there that are kind of peddling it like that. I've seen different advertisements and different things where it's like, it is that kind of flip life mentality without really taking into account what you're doing. So it makes sense that some money would leave. I also think that the economy in general, I think that, the $600 a week stimulus checks ended at the end of July, I believe. I do think that there's a lot of people that I think there was a little bit of a delay where there's going to be bankruptcies that hit. I think the economy is going to take a little bit of a fall. I'm not saying that it's going to completely collapse. I'm not completely pessimistic on it, but I don't think the economy is going to be in great shape kind of through the end of the year until people can revamp. I mean, I think about all the people in the service industry that are still out of work. I mean, I'm in North Carolina and restaurants and bars are just barely open, capacities, 25 or whatever. It's like, how are servers and bartenders making any money? They're not. So I think there's many factors. Those are a couple of them. What are your thoughts?
Well, it's interesting you mentioned that. Before I go on, I got to shout out Jason from Jason's Breaks. I don't know if you saw here. He was in a car accident. So, Jason, I'm so glad you are well. I missed your energy. I missed your presence. And I'm glad it's cool to see Brian and some of the other guys talk about, sending well wishes to Jason as well, because we are a community here and we're not going anywhere. So, it's funny because I remember a couple months ago when I was talking about this, I think I spoke to you about it. I was like, I can't wait to figure out how many people are in it for the short term, the novelty's there, the quick money's there, who's in it for medium term, maybe like a year or two, and then who's like fell in love with it and is back for a long period, as well as what is the money entering the hobby from? Is it credit cards? Is it like, I need to make a lot of money really quick, or I want to for whatever reason, and so I'm going to just flip really hard and try and get out, or I'm going to flip really hard and then eventually get caught when the prices go down? Or is it a lot of people that say, you know what, I'm a dad, I have kids, but I want to do this responsibly. I'll put in $100 a month or $200 a month, something like that. And during the novelty phase of, oh, sports cards are it, everything's going up. Gary Vee's talking about how 3 weeks ago this card was at 500 and now it's at 2,000. I want in, and that's happening. And then you're like, okay, I got to be very wary, because obviously it's not sustainable, but the strategy of buying today because it was cheaper yesterday and assuming it'll be more tomorrow is just, no matter what it's in, if it's real estate or Bitcoin or stocks, it's just, there's no principles there. There's like nothing to invest off of. So it's interesting because we got the Giannis card showing all the institutional money coming in, because that was an alternative investment company that bid up that Giannis card. And if you guys have seen it, and then we have all these basketball cards going down in value, and football. Now we're getting injuries. So I'm sure a lot of people are going to start losing money on, sorry to say, maybe your Drew Brees, if he's slumping a bit more. Others might be making money on Aaron Rodgers, but there's like actual movement going on. And then we got, like the things on my mind too are, all right, institutional money looks like it's just flooding in, which is great because you have these record-breaking prices on the top end cards. I think that does trickle down to other RPAs, jersey cards, rookie cards, where it tapers off for flippers and short-term investors. Just, is it a first-year Prism? Do they lose value because does institutional money really ever go to first-year Prisms and that kind of stuff? Or is that more like hey, I can't afford the real high end, so let me find something else that might be of value and work that angle? I don't know. I'm also thinking a lot of businesses, like you said, there's a lot of bankruptcy. There's a lot of like stuff that's yet to happen that there'll be another stimulus. There'll be other things, but could be March, April, May next year that all the chips fall. At the same time, we have holiday spending coming up where it doesn't matter if you have the money. This is America, where you have access to a credit card and you got the money. So it's not like it really slows people down. But if you have a stimulus check coming, let's say late October or November, and then you have Christmas coming up, well, maybe it's not as many presents or as much money, but I bet there's going to be a lot of kids asking for boxes of cards or singles, while in prior years they asked for other stuff. So all that coming together, I honestly have no idea. This is like the convergence of so many different things: election, stimulus, Corona, people losing money, people still getting in and being excited. So I want to hear what you guys have to say in the comment section too, because I don't think there's a clear answer on this. It's just a matter of which factors are going to be prevailing over the other ones. Is it like, hey, you know what, more people are getting in to sustain the hobby than those that are leaving because they've lost money for the first time, or will be okay in the long run, or the bubble has burst and it's going to soften, but maybe next year it'll pick up. But dude,
it's like, is it just kind of basketball off-season time? Is it kind of like a little blip? Like, in March we had that too, when kind of COVID hit. March 15th to the end of March, it was really, really slow. Prices kind of sagged a little bit, and then it got really hot again, April, May. And I guess this will all be answered probably, towards the end of the year. In September, we'll still be talking about unemployment insurance. Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing, is like, how many more jobs are going to be lost? How many, how's that gonna go?
Yeah, I mean, like the election, I see. I think Gaming God here is. Let me see if Gaming God was talking about, dude. I mean, like the state of how people feel with one candidate over another or versus another in terms of how they feel with investing in general or where the country's going to go. Dude, I don't know, man. Like, it's a shit show. Like, it's really just like a mess right now because there's so much uncertainty. But yet in August, I would say, like looking in hindsight from now to August, where if I look on ComC, I see prices that were 3 times as high on some basketball cards, literally $30 to $40 on certain Luka cards that are now selling for $8 or $9. I could just get them all. And I'm like, this is literally 5 weeks ago that it was 3 times the price. And I understand, like, naturally, okay, Luka's doing great, highlight reel, all this. But for that severe of a drop, I'm like, man, that strikes me as people were overpaying or people are panic selling, like a bit of both. So it's hard, it's hard to make sense of it. But I will say, on my standpoint, I'm investing in a lot of basketball right now because when I see the prices of where a lot of these cards had hit literally 5 weeks ago, I'm thinking to myself, you know what? When the stimulus checks do come, whenever that is, October, November, if you have 30,000 investors or collectors or whatever number now with $1,000 extra going towards cards, I want to make sure I get all those deals before that first wave is out and I have other cards for sale. And then when Christmas comes, I want to make sure I can sell a lot and then see what's going on January. That's also dependent on when the NBA season starts. But in terms of just like societal trends, that's what I'm thinking about right now. What's been your overall strategy, or have you tweaked anything in the last week or two compared to where you were a few months ago?
Yeah, and you know what? And maybe kind of what we're talking about has spooked me a little bit because, I was probably 90% modern cards, 10% vintage up until about a month ago. And I completely shifted over. I've literally been like, over the last month, my purchases are like 95% vintage, 5% modern. I did buy I bought a Luka Hoops rookie card BGS 9.5 a couple of days ago because it was about half the price of where it was when they were in the playoffs and when they were in the bubble. And that's, but outside of that, I haven't really bought much modern at all. So I've been focusing, and we had talked about this, I've been focusing on, Howie Long rookies and Eric Dickerson rookies and all that stuff because they're just safe. And maybe I did just get spooked. It was like, hey, all these new players that are playing, they're vulnerable. And now I need to kind of like diversify a little bit more into some vintage stuff. But you know what? Vintage is expensive too. It's not like vintage is, some amazing deal. I think that I found some good buys within vintage football, but it's not as if it's, super cheap or anything to get into it. You have to kind of pick and choose. And I know for you buy a lot of raw cards, and that's not really an option for vintage. I mean, you can go that route, but there's so many pitfalls to buying raw vintage, whether it be like restored, or trimmed or whatever. I mean, you even have to worry about trimmed with graded cards, let alone raw cards for vintage. And of course, modern too. Modern cards get trimmed as well. So, it's like, you have to kind of pick your poison there. But that's where I've been kind of diversifying a little bit, is just trying to go a little bit heavier on the vintage. And, just to kind of have that as, we talk about like the stocks and bonds, it's more of like the long-term play, because those are guys, literally, those are cards that I'm fine holding, for a long period of time. And if they happen to go up, great. But if it takes 5, 10, 15 years, then that's fine too. But, it's like, what part of your collection are you trying to flip now, and which, what part are your long-term holds? So I think that more of my mindset was more just shifting towards long-term holds. And that's why I bought that Luka card too, because I'm okay sitting on that Luka card if I need to.
Yeah, I think you mentioned a couple really good points with the raw cards. I'm going to go to Sidestack's comment real quick before I go back to Shane's. But it was my whole, and we're pretty much cutting your face off, Dustin, but that's okay. Yeah, there we go. So, well, the point was, when I started investing back in March, my whole hesitancy with buying graded modern cards was knowing how many were getting shipped to PSA and the other graders, and knowing, okay, well, if they're so backlogged And every $3 card 2 years ago is now worth $8. And every $8 card 2 years ago is now worth $25. If it's in great condition, I'm sending it in, right? So if I see a pop report of 55, like for example, first year LeBron James, this is when I looked it up about a month or two ago. First year LeBron James Prism card, PSA, I think it was PSA 10. It was either 10 or all of them, was about 452. Okay. That sounds right. First year select was like 49 or something crazy. And I'm thinking, that's because a first year select LeBron James card was probably a $6 card or an $8 card. And now it's going for about $60. I can only imagine how many hundreds are at the different grading companies that will come back in 3 or 4 or 5 months. And all of a sudden that pop report will be 300. And maybe first year Prism LeBrons that people were kind of lazy about are at PSA, and they'll come back and it'll be, 1.5 times as much. So it's really those vintage cards or older ones that I'd be like, okay, pretty much everything that could be graded is probably in there. But the modern stuff, I'm not buying graded just because I feel like if it's not already worth $100 or $200 a year or two ago, it could have just been sitting somewhere and no one really cared to grade it because it just wasn't that valuable. It was a $5, $10 card and the market wasn't really there to buy it. And now all of a sudden, anything above $10, you can consider grading. Even if it's less, you can consider it. So
yeah, I agree 1,000%. I mean, it's something that worries the heck out of me. And you nailed it. I mean, it's like even with vintage cards, even if someone, even if just a bunch of them show up raw, I'm at least confident that 40-year-old cards are not going to easily get 9s and 10s. I know that they won't, just from what I've read on, different forums. I know it's very difficult to get those types of grades. So that's where there is a little bit more of a comfort level. I bought a Doug Williams rookie card last night. First African-American QB to win a Super Bowl. And he was,
Buccaneer too.
Yeah, and he's a Buck. Yeah, no, I did that. But it's a PSA 9. I think the pop is 150 or 160, 170. But the point is that I look at that guy and I'm like, that's an important figure in history, and then it's an old card, and there's just not that many of them. So if you factor in all these things, I like those types of buys now, and not even just with vintage, but I talk a lot about. I know you talk about it too, but supply and demand is so critical in collectibles in general, and who was the comment from Sidestack? He makes a great point about, I've been saying exactly the same thing of, look, what are those pop reports going to look like at the end of the year? Because side stacks. I mean, PSA is going to grade more cards this year than they have in their 20-year history, not combined, but in any one given year. And that's probably not going to slow down. It'll probably be similar next year. So what's all that supply going to look like? I mean, like the pricing now on all this stuff, like what's that going to look like? You have to feel pretty confident that there's going to be some strong demand, or you just have to feel confident. I have some Steph Curry stuff. Like, for example, I've got like 2015 Prism Red, that's Steph Curry numbered out of like 149 is an example of a card that I've got. But even the stuff that is not numbered, their pop reports are very low on those, the ones that I have. So even if there's 100 more sent in, if they find 100 more to send in and they get a PSA 9 or a 10, it's still not too bad. Because right now, like when I was buying those 6-7 months ago, there was literally like 20 on the pop report. So, but to me, I was like, okay, that's a little bit more safe than like the 2018 Optic LeBron base card in a PSA 10. That's selling for $300. There's no way that's going to stay at $300, in my opinion, over time. I just don't see it.
Well, another interesting point you make on that supply and demand is I like using Comp C because it's like a little micro economy within the economy of sports cards where there is supply and demand just on that platform. And, I've been fortunate in some cases where I've been able to control supply more than others, but sometimes like the base cards of I've got several 2019, 2020 Select and Optic Anthony Davis base cards. And I bought them at pretty good prices, and I controlled the supply at that point. But then more people would upload the cards, and all of a sudden, instead of it being 10 for sale, now there's 65 for sale, and then it's just undercutting. But to learn about it on a very small scale of a $3 or $4 card is a lot better than getting that card graded PSA 10 when there's that first person got that batch back and there's very little PSA 9s or 10s or anything graded of that card, and they're paying a premium because that pop report is 60 or 100 or 200 when literally it could be 3,000 in a couple more months. And it's like, I think that's where it's like, look, this new cards, the modern stuff, I'll pay a few dollars raw just because $2 can double my money to $4 pretty quick and easy, and I'm okay with that. But the big money on modern cards where it's not a rookie card, it's more of like a currency for flippers and that kind of thing, to me, that scares the hell out of me. So there's no way I'm doing that. It's like, you know, the reason I've been doing such low end cards is still because I'm trying to learn more before I scale up, learn more. Okay, like make this mistake on a $10 card or a $30 transaction rather than make the same mistake on a $500 card, because, you know, to make like to get the wrong grading company or to get an off center card or something like that because I didn't take the time to learn, and then all of a sudden, all right, that's $1,000 that I should have only paid $400 for. Well, that's a huge mistake versus, okay, I made it on a $10 card. I can write that off as a learning lesson and move on. But it's very interesting there. I want to answer Global Sports Card Investors question. He's joining us from Australia. I have no idea what time it is, but different opposite sides. It's got to be like 10 in the morning or something, just knowing how crazy far it is. What is your take on this? You want to get into Giannis, and you have a lot of this year's rookie that have a heap. You know, he's from Australia when he says a heap. The heap is an Australian term. Do I sell the rookies to get in on Giannis? What's your first response there?
Probably depends on which rookies that you're talking about, which cards and sets. You know, if they're lesser known sets, I don't know if it's oh gosh, what's an example of a set? Chronicles, maybe. I don't know. I know Chronicles was hot this year, but maybe just a lesser collected set or bot set, then I would say try to move those. But it really depends on which players they are, Alec. If you can, I don't know if you want to share the players, that would be helpful. It's all speculation, but yeah, I don't know. What do you think, Brad?
I mean, I hate saying it depends, but like every answer is pretty much like I need more details.
Yeah.
I will say this. Giannis's prices before he won MVP, I haven't checked in the last couple of days. Those prices had dropped right when the Bucks were out of the playoffs, and it was a huge disappointment. So the way I see it is when a player of his magnitude has that dip, but he's really proven, and all he needs is like another great player to play with and maybe a better market or like a bigger, sexier market. I'm fine with that transition, but at the same time, I've been buying a lot of 2019, 2020 rookies raw cards on Comp C because the prices are just so low. Like all the cards have just made it onto Comp C after being delayed 2 months, 3 months, 4 months. And I'm looking at raw optic rookies of guys that it's literally $2, $3. And I'm like, and I'll look at the sales and it'll say sold at a high of $9, $12, whatever. Some of them $22, $25, like in May, and it's like $2, $3. So to me, it's the player is higher risk, but the price I'm getting it at is so low risk that I think, God, all you have to do is just like, pretty much nothing for a $2 card to be worth $2. If you do anything good, it'll probably go up to $4 or $5. So I think it's always dependent on. Like the risk reward matters on the player, of course, and the card, but also how much you're paying. Because if you're not getting a deal on Giannis, I would rather get a deal on rookies that are just going to be hyped for next year. And then in December, before the season starts and it's Christmas, all right, let me sell in Christmas time. They're talking about the season, who to look out for, blah, 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 blah. Sell off there. And then just like with NFL, players are getting injured. Now I'm starting to look at, okay, what injuries are going to be to the point where guys are out 4 to 6 weeks, but should be back in the last half of the season. Because let me look at those prices now and in the next few weeks. But someone else mentioned how cyclical it was. What's up, Samuel's Views? Just want to say what's up to you. Let me see who said it was cyclical. Yeah, Shane. Here's the thing. Like, It is, but if it's that simple, then it's just too easy of a game to play. It's literally just, okay, buy basketball now, and then all you have to do is outweight the majority of people. It's like, all right, I'll just stock up. Like the analogy I make is, if you're that guy that in October has the Halloween costume place set up, and then in July have the firework place set up, all you have to do is buy your fireworks in October, buy your Halloween costumes in July, and you have that much of a head start that you're fine. And you could literally buy and sell for the hype of the next season based on the articles and the headlines and whoever is pumped up to be the top player or breakout player or whatever else.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's funny because they don't even have to get on the court before you sell those cards. You know, I mean,
that's the best thing. That's the best thing. That's what I love.
You nailed it. Yeah, you nailed it with that. I mean, that's just literally, and because you're patient to be able to turn $2. Most people aren't patient to be able to turn $2 into $8, and that's 4 times your money in a couple of months. Yeah, that's not a bad gig.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, to me, it's like, but also with CompC or a platform like StarStock, if it's a couple clicks of a button, it's too easy. If it's ship me a card and then I have to pack it up and ship it out for $2 or $3, that sucks. But if it's literally buy, or put an offer in at 80% of all these really low cards, a lot of people will take it. So, I mean, it's one of those things where I'm just figuring out how cyclical it is. But I think what excites me is that a lot of people aren't patient. So instead of saying, look, all I have to do is sacrifice the first 6 months. I just have to be buying for the first 6 months, and then every 6 months I'll be making those big lumps of money when it's like, all right, sell off a lot right before NBA starts, and then that's when I'm buying for next football season when no one's thinking about it. Okay, but if you only do that one time, you're patient that one 6 month period, then you get in that rhythm of like, all right, $3,000 in here, $6,000 in here, or whatever amount it is for you. But it's almost too easy because, again, you don't have to even have them play as long as they don't suck in the off season, as long as like they don't get traded or anything crazy and they're expected to be one of the top breakout players. There should be a bump in price from whatever you paid if you bought it during their dip 6 months ago. Yeah,
I mean, the question that I think we all have to ask ourselves is exactly what you just said. Which player, whether you think they're actually going to be good or not, is going to be hyped up by the analysts? Who is Stephen A. Smith going to be talking about? Who is, Chris Collinsworth going to be talking about? Who are all these guys going to be talking about? Rich Eisen, et cetera. And, it doesn't really matter if you even get to the next season, if you're just kind of selling on, buying and selling. It's kind of like what you said. So if you're selling in December basketball, right when football season is getting to the playoffs, all those teams that are out of the playoffs, if there's guys that you like on those teams or the teams get eliminated from the playoffs, those prices should drop. They historically have dropped at that point, and that's where maybe you get in. Yeah, I mean, it is cyclical. I don't know how, people have been talking about there's no real off season anymore, and I don't know how true that is, or I understand kind of the point of it, but this is going to be a real test because the last month has been, people have gotten out, or they've done something different, or they're moving to some, they're doing something different.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because what is off season, and it's like if there's not people entering the market and there's not other factors, then it makes sense, right? If it's like a stagnant market, it's like, okay, it's off season, like Halloween's over, so buy the costumes because it's off season of Halloween, and then you buy the costumes at $3 a piece so you could sell them next year $40 a piece, and it's like that. But if people are constantly getting in, and then you have stimulus money, and then you have holidays, and then you have Gary Vee talk about someone, and then you have fantasy football experts talking about it, then all of a sudden the off season kind of gets warped. And it's not nearly as predictable because there's all these factors coming in right now. And so, like, to me, that's why whatever it is, I got to use the charts. I got to look at the data and just see when it plummets and when it goes down again, because I don't know if it'll keep going down, knowing how many people are getting in, especially I would say on the more collectible cards, the autos, the jersey cards versus the base cards. But looking at CompC sales and seeing how low a lot of those second year Prism cards or first year or whatever it is, like second year Lukas, And certain cards that are cool, like the Zions, fell like crazy. So I've been buying a lot of Zion because, like, before, his prices were just 70% hype, 30% merit. It was kind of like, you are great in college and you should be great, so I'm just going to pay a fortune, versus, okay, can you compete at this level and be healthy and be on the court? And we haven't seen enough of that for those prices to be where they were at. And then literally I'm buying, I think I got a couple of his Mosaic rookies raw for $35 a piece, which, I mean, if I just click on the button on ComSeed, it'll say like a high of 68 back in August. Or his Optic rookie, I think I got for, I want to say like 45 or something like that. But it was a price that was the lowest on ComSeed. It was an offer. It was like, how low can I get this card for? But it's sad because, you know, not too long ago, Zion was the cool guy, and you know, the prices were through the roof. But knowing all of this after the first cycle versus after the first run of, okay, the first NBA season is coming to an end, this is what's happened, and this is how the prices have adjusted. It's really refreshing, because now it's really just the human behavior coming out. Like, okay, the hype's gone. Either sell at a loss or just hold for next year. But then you really could pick your spots to find good deals.
Yeah. No, I agree. The hype around a player is just as important, if not more important, than their actual performance, which is so weird. But you know what? It's similar to stocks too. When you think about the stock market, there's a lot of stocks where it's just all hype. There's no bottom. There's no, you know, when you actually look at the fundamentals of the company, there's nothing there. It's just all excitement, you know, and it's similar to this.
But you know what's funny about stocks, and I was talking to I don't know who it was. I was talking to a friend of mine about this, and I said the part that's better about cards than stocks is that there's even more emotion involved. There's more being tied to a player and a team versus like stocks. It's very like, unless you're buying Tesla and you like saying, oh, I bought Tesla stock or Apple stock. The majority of it, it's like, look, I don't know who the hell you are, or I know a bit about your company, but you make pieces of plastic, or you make some drug or whatever. But these cards, it's so emotional that if you can separate your emotion from it and say, damn, my emotions say buy this because I'm so excited, but let me move back and say, all right, no, this is a good time to sell or do something different. But if you have that ability, I feel like it's even easier, just because you know that emotions will run a lot of other people. It will control a lot of others. And if you're able to just put that aside and really time things, just time things better, but also just take a much more logical approach, I think it's easier.
Oh, it definitely is. Yeah. Well, and two, it's like, you know, people say the card market's unpredictable, but the stock market is even more unpredictable, just in like, you know, you can have a company that's got amazing earnings and the stock price is going down. You know, if it was all predictable, then, you know, everybody would be wealthy, you know, or, you know, it's just the stock market does all sorts of crazy things, you know? So, you know, and you're right, for this, I don't need to try to predict a company. I just need to predict, you know, if we think a player is going to be good, if they're going to be talked about, if they're going to be in the news, and act accordingly. Yeah, it's exactly what you said.
And sometimes, like, I'll look at the ESPN app, because I love this ESPN app. It's just my go-to sports app. But a lot of times now I'm looking at the headlines and I'm just interpreting it as, if 2,000 card collectors and investors are looking at this headline, how are they taking it? How, you know, like, just that's more of my perception now. If I turn on ESPN and watch First Take and Around the Horn and those shows, what are they saying about how Drew Brees played, or how Tom Brady is playing, or like Gronk is not performing, or is he disgruntled, or whatever? All those things are more like, great. Now, what does that mean? Is that like them just saying that, and then he'll have a huge game next week because of this, or what's the interpretation? But I think it's just so much more important to read I don't know, like, just the human behavior aspect, or just interpret that the way it's coming across, and then how people will respond to it, more than the actual sport itself. Because, you know, like, I didn't invest in Zion before about a month ago, just because I'd not seen too much of him play. and the opportunity cost was too damn high. I was looking like for $50, I can buy a lot of Russell Wilson or like other cards, or Luka lower end cards where I've seen a lot from Luka, and I'd rather buy a second year card or a lower end rookie card than someone that could be the next big thing. But every flipper and 18-year-old kid that has $50 is going to try and bid up that card because he's cool and he's new and he's young and all that. And I don't want that. I don't want to compete with flippers or speculators. I want to be like, okay, who's not cool right now? Kevin Durant's not cool. Russell Wilson wasn't cool. All these guys weren't cool. They were old news. They were like, yeah, they're good, but that's not new and flashy. So that's that's why I bought them when I did. Let's see what else we got here in the comment section. Bard is more patient than I. Thank you. There we go, Brad.
Okay.
Brad is like Aristotle, whereas I might be a little more like Alexander the Great. I'll take it. I'm the big Aristotle, like Shaq. Remember, that was like one of Shaq's 46 nicknames.
That's too much history, Brian. I don't know. I have no idea what you're talking about.
What's up, Rage 508? Okay, so what else is the one thing that I was wondering about is Mosaic, and I just don't know where to land on Mosaic. I've heard a lot of back and forth. Is Mosaic a good set to buy into? Like, if it's a rookie card, is it worth it as a base? Is it going to die? Was it just lucky last year? What's your first take on Mosaic, this set?
Mosaic football?
I mean, Mosaic, period. Like, as in just Panini Mosaic.
Yeah, it's kind of tricky. I do think that it's going to remain popular. And I think that
don't lose your train of thought.
Yeah, the Zion and the Ja and the rookie class, I think will keep it kind of like the 2018 rookie class with Trey and Luka and those guys. I think that it'll keep it relevant, and it being the first standalone Mosaic in basketball, and then it being the first football set of Mosaic this year. I do think that it will stay popular long term. I don't know if it's going to be some sort of iconic set or anything like that. I haven't bought any Mosaic football, not even singles. But I think I'm just going to hold. Honestly, I think I fall into that group of people that's been spooked by some of the price declines, how sharply they've declined. So all the new stuff, everything that I've bought over the last month that's modern, it's numbered. I'm buying like Optic Orange that's numbered out of 199. What's funny is I bought like second year Saquon Barkley, Optic Orange, but the reason why is because they were like $8. So I'm like thinking like, if he does tear an ACL, it's $8, and at least this card is numbered. And if he comes back and he's MVP next year or something, then I'm okay. But yeah, with modern stuff, I'm just being really super careful. If it's not Luka, or if it's not someone that I'm super sold on, then it's got to be numbered. It's got to be a parallel, and it's got to be at the right price. I think that's the big thing.
Yeah, I think at the right price is where, no matter what it is, it's like if it's risky. If it's at the right price, it's worth the risk. If it's $4 or $3 or something, if it's $300 and risky, well, if you're investing $100,000 and $300 is like pennies to you, relatively speaking, then that might be okay. But if you're investing $500 a month and you're taking a $300 gamble, I wouldn't do it. That's too risky for me. But also, this is a very risky time, like because we haven't seen anything stable yet. There hasn't been any predictability or stability. We have like too many factors to even make sense of all this.
I've had so many people talking smack to me about the 2018 Prism base Luka PSA 10 because I've been talking down on that card for months. And then literally when that card hit $2,000, I had guys DMing me. I had guys commenting on old videos like, ooh, this aged well, just slam it, like trolling the heck out of me. And I wrote back, I'm like, stay tuned, fellas. Like, stay tuned. I'm telling you, man, just keep watching it. Because I don't think it's ever going to hit $2,000 again. You can put me down on record for that. Somebody will probably come back to this video in 5 years and say, look, this card's $10,000. But I'm just based on the supply of that card. I think it's going to settle in at a $500 to $700 card when it's all said and done. I would not be surprised at all if it's at the end of this year when there's 18,000 of them on the pop report that it's a $500 card. Wouldn't shock me at all.
Yeah. Another thought of in terms of supply and demand is I've never been a huge fan of Prism. I get into like the newer Prisms I like, the older stuff I just don't. But it always came down to, is Prism a product of young kids liking it and like the younger investors liking it so much? And will that shift? As in, maybe they're number one and will be number one, but will Optic close the gap? Will it be like enough people saying, you know, Prism's fine, but it's not that much better, or it's like it's only marginal? Because I hear a lot of people not having Prism as their number one, yet the prices dictate it's number one in terms of just rookie cards and whatnot and first year cards. So like that's something else that I think, you know, in a year from now, I could see like a two-way tie for number one, or a three-way tie, or just closer numbers than what we're seeing. And that's probably why I've been going so high or heavy into Select, because I also believe Select should have, I don't know if it does, but should have a lower print run with a lot of their cards, just because it's not retail and it's less popular because they don't make retail. But that's also a potential upside. I see like Select is like, dude, if they go retail, game over. But if they don't, then I would imagine the print runs would be lower, and it's still one of those cards that will have its time in the sun. What's a set that you're really looking at now outside of, let's say outside of Prism, but if it's outside of the obvious top 3 or 4 sets?
Yeah, no. Well, going back to what you said about Prism, my other question is, and maybe if someone in the that's watching knows this, but when did Prism become king? You know, because we talk about Prism as king, but is that like in the last 2 years? Is that because, I mean, if you go back to like Giannis's rookie, what is that, 2013 Prism? They didn't even print much of it. Like there wasn't even demand for it. I think 2012, 2013 Prism, it struggled badly from what I know about it, to where they almost didn't even make I think they almost stopped making it. Like for 13 or 14 or one of those years, they were like, like this isn't working. So at what point did that shift? You know, and I know that Optic is a fairly brand new thing too. I know that Optic 18 months ago was not a big set. That is a new, that's a fairly new deal that has happened. So I think that's what's kind of interesting about this is, for all those that'll scream out that Prism is king, I mean, maybe that is the case, but like we don't have a long history of data on any of this, to where it's like, it's not like, you know, 50 years of Prism, you know, we're like 8 years in, you know, like for Prism, what's that going to look like in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? Like what, you know, when I'm 60, is Prism even going to be a set? You know, I mean,
well, a big point of that is I talked to the card shop owner in LA who, he's done this for 25 years, and he was really insightful. But he says what people don't realize is that Panini only has the rights to basketball for another year before they have to re-up on it, and they should win. But what if Topps becomes the producer of basketball cards? What happens to first-year Prism if it's not a rookie card, if it's not a auto, or it's not a jersey card? Does a first-year Prism of LeBron matter if he's still playing, but then Topps comes out next year? Or does that kind of like fade and be like, it's okay? But like I would imagine, same thing as Mosaic, even if Panini makes Mosaic for another couple of years, my question is, what if they stop making Mosaic after 4 years, and that's the run? Do people care about Mosaic in year 5 and 6, or you know, a couple of years after they've discontinued the set? Or is it looked at like, oh, okay, that was cool while it was there, but unless it's a rookie card or like a rare parallel, it doesn't really matter. So it's just so hard to piece all this together.
Yeah, does it go the other way too, where it's like, oh, they only made Prism for 8 years, and then Topps took it back over, and it was all Topps Chrome or whatever. So maybe it's even more sought after because it's like those are the only 8 years of Prism or whatever. You know, I mean, like, who really knows how the market is gonna you know, view that? You know, so yeah, that's what's tricky. You know, about a lot of it. And there's just so much. I think the biggest concern too, just moving forward, and it'll be really telling for next year's draft class, is how many more sets is Panini going to print? Because they're not, you know, different than like junk wax era when I was a kid, and when you were a kid, that's you know, where they were just kind of printing a lot of one set. Now they're just printing a lot of different sets. So, you know, it's like if Luka has 60 different rookie cards, you know, or you know, the new who's going to be the number one pick next year, LaMelo. If LaMelo's got 100 rookie cards, and there's 5 different Donruss sets and there's 5 different Mosaic versions, and it's like at some point that's going to hit a snag. It's going to hit a snag somewhere to where the demand just isn't there for all that stuff. It
might just be too confusing too, as like a collector investor, to understand what do I want, what is a card that I should hold on to versus others. I understand from a supply demand side of Panini wanting to include or produce more sets versus pump up the print run of a certain set. I respect that. But if if you have, all right, here's the low end, we got to have a couple really low ends. We want the kids, we want like a lower budget investors in, and then we want to have the national treasures. We want to have like the really high end too. But then we also don't want to pump out, 12,000, I don't know, 15,000, 20,000 Prism rookies of whatever person, because now we're going to become that junk wax, provider at that point. I want to transition over to a couple comments here, or a couple questions. Have you used StarStock? What's your take on StarStock if you've used it? And do you think it can contend with CompC?
I have not used it yet. And I know I'm like an old man with all the new technology. I haven't done enough on CompC. I just started using CompC, I would say probably like 2 or 3 months ago. And I've done a fair amount of buying on it, and I've just started selling a few things on it. I haven't done a lot of buying and selling. I really like CompC, and I just feel like now I'm starting to get used to CompC, and like StarStock is like the new, it's like the Apple 13, and I don't want to touch it because I'm comfortable with my Apple 9 or whatever, that's the way it is for me. I'm slow on the uptake with a lot of, and sometimes too with some of these platforms, I want to see how others use it, view it, how they like it, see reviews on it before I start jumping in head first. How about you?
Okay, I love CompC. I use it all the time. But it's definitely not perfect. I think StarStock has looked at CompC and have said, okay, we can take this and we can improve. The downfall is that, all right, for CompC, it's great because any card is taken. So you can pretty much send in any legit card. They'll upload into their system. You could sell it. And the biggest perk of CompC, in my opinion, is that the listing lives on eBay as well. So that card, about a third or a fourth of my sales are from eBay. Someone literally on eBay saw the card on eBay, bought it, and CompC was the seller via me. Or I was the seller via CompC, and it gets sent to them. So that's great. StarStock doesn't offer that. If you buy a card on StarStock, it's starstock.com. That's where it happens. At the same time, I've sent in about 900 cards to CompC, 800 of which was in June or early July, and only 20 or 30 of them have hit their system. So there's literally about 800 cards that, in fact, I might just share my screen just so I could show you how ridiculous this is, because they've taken away their 3-week delivery promise, which is fine. But in fact, let me show you the screen right here. Let's take a look. Let's see if this will completely screw up everything. We'll see. All right, entire screen. Share. Okay. Oh, crap. All right. So if you guys see this, this is what I'm talking about right here. Look at the due date here. 474 cards on this one. And the original due date was July 13th. And now it's pushed to October 1st. And this date keeps getting pushed back. Every couple of days I look at it, it's getting pushed back more and more. So I don't expect any of these to be due in 2 days. I expect all of these to be pushed back months and months. So the amount at which they're delayed is so ridiculous that it's frustrating. It's really frustrating because I have so many cards that I would like to have in their system. But like StarStock, they're only focused on active rookie cards, active player rookie cards. So it could be a lot more of that gambling, short-term investing type of style. And one thing I got to say, if you're in, I know that we have Costa Rica represented, we have Australia, and I know a couple others from Great Britain. And I got to come down on all these comments because there's so many. Shit, like these comments were from like, what's up, Andy? These comments are from like 20 minutes ago. I'm just getting down here. But the thing with StarStock that really I thought appeals to international investors is that they have a mailing address that you can have a breaker, or you can have like a an eBay purchase, have it sent directly to them without the cards being sent to you first, and then you opening it up, and then you processing it, and then shipping it to CompC or somewhere else. So if you're in Australia, you could literally go in on a break and have the address Star Stock, and you don't have to include paperwork or other stuff first. So to me, I'm like, dude, I was telling Scott from Star Stock, the CEO, focus on the international, because if you focus on those international investors and have that ability to get the cards for them to buy cards in the US and send it to them within the US without having to go across the world and back, that's going to really help. And I really feel like that's one advantage they have, and they can move really quickly, while CompC just seems like they're bogged down with COVID, and they're in Washington, and they're short staffed, and it's like, if they wanted to apply any changes, it will take 10 times longer, while Star Stock is like, okay, we're on it. Customer service is here. You want this? We'll do it. And so they're a lot quicker to react. So I definitely see future for Star Stock, but I do wonder if CompC would try and buy him out, if eBay would try and buy him out, because eBay, there's a lot of complaints with eBay in terms of just scams and whatnot as well.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how eBay evolves over time with all this stuff. Because they have to get better. There's so many people that are upset with how, sellers are treated, with all the returns and everything. There's got to be some sort of a happy medium there with that, because the selling experience is not great. It's high fees, which you do get high visibility, but there's a lot of pitfalls too.
The thing with eBay to me is, eBay was like Blockbuster or Kmart. Like, you were the best. You're an open marketplace. You're great, but it's not designed for this new era of the hobby. It's like you're great for what you were, but now when other marketplaces can look at what you're offering and then make it even better, if you don't innovate, you'll hold on until that tipping point where a lot of people say, you know what, that other platform, CompC or Star Stock or StockX or whatever, is proven enough. It's been around long enough for me to feel confident. I've heard enough good things, and I'm just going to start going there. And then you'll just have all these, like, eBay will just be the place where the kids or that person that's going to have a garage sale that just has random stuff, and they have the bad pictures anyway, and they just upload it because they're familiar with eBay. But those that are serious into the hobby, very familiar with it, they'll only look there for like deals, like raw cards here or whatnot, but then they'll go other places. And that might be a year or two, or eBay actually improves, and that's not the issue. But right now, there's too many pain points with eBay, with scams and fees and protecting the buyers, and the sellers always getting the short end of the stick, to the point where I'm always looking for alternative ways. I know Ziggy was always talking about through Facebook groups, and when I have more graded cards, high-end graded cards, it's going to be Facebook groups. It's not going to be eBay, because if it saves me money and it saves the buyer money, might as well do it. But with a lot of the raw cards, or having a sense of urgency to sell and not being able to get it to CompC quick enough, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months before it's in their system, I have to resort to eBay. So that's where I'm at. Yeah, CompC, super slow. Great concept of a business, but right now they're just not they're not executing as well as I'd like. Every time I see the name Cortland Sutton, I think of Kiefer Sutherland. I just it's one of those association things, like Kiefer Sutherland, and it's not even that close.
My whole fantasy team got injured this last couple of weeks. Dude, I have a Gronk who hasn't touched the ball yet this year. I'm like, what the hell, man? Like, give the ball to Gronk.
Well, here's the thing. I'm actually kind of looking at. For one, I'm glad I sold all 6 of my PSA 10 Gronk rookie cards before the start of the season. And I bought them all for 84 a piece times 6, sold them for, I think, 260 to 500 a piece. So that was the range. And then, of course, now it's like you can't even tell he's on the team. But that also makes me think, okay, I wonder if those prices have softened. And then in week 5, 6, 7, maybe there's another injury on the team and Gronk steps up. He has a big game, or he finds his role in the system. I don't know. But I like it when the prices dip because he hasn't played well or hasn't done anything. And then, all of a sudden he has a big game, but then you have his cards. It's hard effing work. Damn scammers. Yeah. And I feel like eBay makes it a lot easier for scammers. versus other platforms like CompC or StarStock. Like if you sell something on CompC and the buyer's on CompC, there's no real refund or return. They have the card. They took the picture. It's pretty much on them. They're the middleman that takes the responsibility. eBay, like with eBay, just because I don't trust, like, for one, there's mistakes, but then also there's scammers. I'll open every package on videotape, but when I send cards out, I'll videotape myself and I'll hold up the card on videotape saying, here's the card, look at the corners, look at everything, here it's going in this. And just as like, just in case I could use it in the future, I'd rather have that little bit of leverage of saying, you know what, eBay, I have a video of me doing my part. Here's the link. It's, you know, an unlisted video on YouTube. I'd rather have that at least as a threat or like a backup than for it to be my word versus their word, because it always seems like the buyer gets the benefit of the doubt. Have you had any experiences like that on eBay?
I had one return. It was something that got it was actually damaged in the package by the post office. So it wasn't like I mean, I guess technically they could have maybe taken it out and dropped it or something and damaged it themselves, but it seemed like it was fairly legit. And I ended up thank goodness it was something that it was $225 item and I insured it. And sometimes I don't insure like $200 items, but I just so happen to insure that one. If it's anything that's over like $250, $300, then I always insure it. You know, I've heard good things about my slabs too. That's another one that's popped up where they really vouch out people, and I've heard good things, and they you can sell at 1%. It's just but it's just a matter of getting the exposure. You know, I don't know how many people know about my slab, so I don't know how many people are buying and selling on it.
Yeah, and I mean, look, someone put here eBay is king, and yeah, it is for now. And I hope to God either they do better or someone else comes along that can eliminate all these pain points. Because if you're in the hobby and you're doing things the right way, then this is really bothering you. Like this is like a necessary evil until someone else comes along. And Jason, you're inventing something. I want stake of that. But like I actually sent out a Damian Lillard rookie card. It was when Damian Lillard took off, and it was his select rookie card, one that I actually sent to Jason as well. And for one, like some of you guys have heard this already. I put the card, I videotaped myself, and I went to the post office. I opened the blue bin and put it in there, and I videotaped myself putting it in, closing it, opening it. It's gone. And a week and a half later, the buyer says, "Hey, I haven't gotten the card yet." And I'm like, you know, it's been a week and a half. What are you talking about? But I didn't accuse him of anything. He had good feedback, and he came across pretty normal, like not like a dick or anything. But obviously, Lillard and the Blazers had lost. He got injured, and then they got out of the playoffs, and so the card dropped to about $70, even though I sold it for $150 a week and a half ago or prior. And I look on eBay, and it says printing label or shipping label printed, but nothing else had been scanned into their system. So what I learned from that, and if you guys haven't seen the video, the biggest learning lesson is if you're selling on eBay or anywhere else, get the receipt, make sure they scan it in so that it goes into eBay's system. But what happened was, because it didn't go into eBay system, I had to refund him the money. Turns out he was not lying. I followed up with the post office, and they put it in the wrong bin, and it arrived at his apartment 3.5 weeks later. So I mean, like a month total. And he shipped it back to me, and I paid for that return shipping. But what's even worse is when I got the package back, and this is coming up on a future video. So here's a spoiler alert. I got the package back. I don't believe he opened it, but there's 2 big slashes in the package, like box cutter slashes. And I look in there, and the Lillard card was a raw card in a penny sleeve as well as a top loader inside of a little padded envelope inside of a big one. And I look, and the slashes went all the way through the inner package, the plastic and the penny sleeve, and all the way through the card. And so now,
oh my God.
So my other learning lesson is there's a good chance that someone in the world that works at the post office or UPS hates your guts, like literally wants you to suffer in life, and they will take it out on that package. So pack whatever card, whether it's graded or not, go real thick. put in cardboard.
Crazy,
Assume someone will try and slice it up with a box cutter, because not only did I lose the money on the transaction, I also lost the $15 or $20 I invested in the card. So it was just like one of those horrible transactions. But
did it say, "I know what you did last summer" on the package?
Yeah. I'll be like, fine, we're even now. We're even. I killed someone. You ruined my Damon Lillard card.
Yeah, that sucks.
But you know what? I think that was one of the problems too with eBay, is that eBay gets a lot of those in it for the flip, and I want to invest, but I want to invest at no risk. So that means I'll invest now, lock in this card while it could go up, but then they lose the game and then I back out. And I've experienced that as well. The other thing I do is, like Vegas Fine says, I put no returns, and I'm even thinking of in my listing I videotape packaging the card for quality control, just to deter anyone else that is in it for, like wants to get out for any possible reason. So I'm thinking of doing that. Even if I get lower bids, I'd rather get someone that will actually keep the card and that's reputable versus someone that is only in it as long as the card continues to climb.
I did have someone that straight up. It was a Jason Tatum. So I sold a Jason Tatum Optic, the rookies. This was like back in June, and it was I sold it for $108. And that card now, I don't know what it is now, but I'm sure it's probably north of $200. I haven't looked at it, but he bought it for $108. And then about 2 hours later, he wrote me and he said, "Hey, sorry, I found one cheaper. So I need to cancel this." He actually put that in the email message that, "Hey, he didn't even make up an excuse. He's just like, 'Hey, I found a cheaper one. Thanks, but no thanks.'" And I'm
Dude,
like,
we're not Walmart, man.
I mean,
well, here's the thing. All right, so I see the comment here. Buyer can literally select the not as described option, and that's the reason why I would have it have the videotape. And I'd say, "Oh, really? Because here's the pictures of it, and here's the videotape of me sending it out. Can you please show me the videotape of you opening it from the package? Because I will report this to eBay." And I haven't taken that route, but I would pretty much hold that as leverage to say, "Look, I have proof that it is as described, and I here's the visual proof right here. I'm not refunding them the money because I did my job. So if you want to refund them and have me keep the money, that's fine. But there's no way in hell I'm going to let that slide when I have all the evidence that it is exactly as described, and everything is there." That's all I'm saying is, I'll raise hell. I don't mind raising hell. And the cool thing about having a platform like this is we can raise hell and actually make a little bit of difference.
That's right. That's actually a good point. Yeah. We can make hate videos on eBay.
Hey, dude, you know what? It's not hate, it's honest, man. And when we have the visual evidence, it's objective. It's literally, I'm not gonna say like, dude, they're the worst. I'm gonna say this is what happened. You be the judge, but I got the damn evidence right here. And that's the way I'll always approach it. But it's just a shame because whenever there's money in anything, there's always the people that look to take advantage and do things the wrong way, which really puts a bad taste in the mouth of a lot of people that want to have fun and do this the right way.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So I don't understand. What's the point of even having no refunds as an option, right? Like it says accepts refunds, don't accept refunds. What's
right? Yeah.
I
always pick no refunds, but I guess it doesn't matter.
I mean, yeah, to me, then I'll just blast eBay on here. If that happens to me again, I'll be like, so the cool thing about having a platform is then I'll be like, okay, now I can make some great content and use all my vengeance in a very spiteful way and create content and hopefully create a bit of change. But it just, so, okay, Vegas Finds, let me know, will they ever, let me know in the comment section, do they ever side with the seller? So just someone, I got to go down on these comments before we hop off. I know we got a big game coming up. Do they ever? So you could pretty much go in there as a buyer and just screw over everyone.
You know what? I'm glad that you told me that. I've got Saquon Barkley cards I need to send back if that's the case. Hey, I'm having some buyer's remorse.
Yeah, yeah, buyer's remorse. Yeah, seriously. Okay, hold on. We got something. So BC, let me know what exactly or what you have to do in order to get sided your side as a seller. Please relieve that. No refunds, killing. Yes, I've good. Okay, so someone. Oh, sorry, Brian. Actually, didn't mean to click on yours. Kills. You've won against shoddy buyers. Okay, so I'm glad to hear that. Before, oh, dude, oh man, this. Well, what needs to happen is eBay actually needs to hear that these are complaints, and I know these other platforms are coming up. I just don't know how long it'll take for either eBay to say we're losing market share and these other, because like sports cards have got to be like 2% of eBay, like that. That's why they shouldn't care so much. It's not like they're a sports card trading platform. They're a giant flea market online that does everything, while another platform can really weed out all this stuff. But if eBay partnered with Star Stock, if there was a really good either cross business partnership, or Gary V or one of those guys backed a big name like Star Stock or StockX or one of those, or CompC, and brought enough market share to that platform, I think it'd be fine. The one thing with eBay is that it's like it's the way it always was, and it's going to take more and more time for people to learn about the other platforms, to trust it, and then to see good experiences and results to eventually make its way there. I don't know how long that would take, and that's assuming eBay doesn't step up their game.
Yeah, I agree. I think something will happen if cards maintain their popularity. I think that's the other big part of it too. eBay might be like, let's just see if this holds up, because obviously sports cards have been a much bigger part of their business over the last 12 months than it has been. If they're looking at data on where their profits are coming from, they're gonna notice it. It's just a matter of is it gonna stay like that?
That's it. Yeah, and I mean. I feel like this is the first wave of excitement where, like, I remember when The Last Dance ended and I saw a lot of my Jordan cards not sell and then go down in value, and I was like, okay, so that was my first idea of the rise and fall of cards. And then of course off season, and then entering the bubble, and then everything was up because the possibilities were endless. It's like anything could happen. Zion could lead the Pelicans to the championship, and so could Luka, and so could Damian Lillard, and so could everyone else. And then all of a sudden, disappointment, injury, like real life happened, and then we got to see all that first disappointment, which is great, because I think everyone needs to feel that, so then we could say, all right, who was in it for the wrong reasons, who is getting out, who lost the fun because they lost money for the first time, versus, okay, I lost money this time, but I learned a lot, and this is really cool. I want to keep going. So I feel like the longer the hobby lasts, the more the problems will get solved, and the more the people that are in it for the wrong reasons will eventually get caught. We're on like such a tear for card prices from like April to August, or like May, or April, May, all the way through the end of August, where it was just double, and it was just going up at such a pace where, you knew it wasn't sustainable. Anyways, guys, we got a game going on. So I want to thank all 111 of you. I think this is a record for joining Dustin and me as we talk shit about eBay. That's been the highlight of my night so far. Anyway, definitely follow Dustin, the personal finance dad. You probably already know that. What do you like talking about on your station? Because I know you talk about a lot.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's mostly sports cards, I would say. And then it's also just other collectibles and some general personal finance stuff. But I like talking about all things collectibles, but mostly sports cards.
Me too. I mean, seriously, that's the fun part, is being able to shoot the shit about sports cards. And I want to say good night to all of you. Make sure to follow Dustin. Every comment that is new on my station, I read and I respond to. I don't get notified of responses to my responses. So just start a new comment if you want me to see it. I hope you all have a great night. I'm flying back to LA tomorrow, so wish me safe travels, and I will see y'all later. Got some waffles too. Got to eat my waffles.